you all please rise and we'll recite the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have Andy on the phone, and the other 6 of us are present, so.
Exactly.
How's the weather down there, Andy?
It's better than it is up there.
How do you know? How's the prime rib?
How is it up there?
You don't know. Great.
Adam, do you have something you want to go over with us?
Sure. You all got the monthly report in front of you. We ended October with 175 total 911s for an average of 5.6 a day. All the times I'm actually very happy with. If you look at those are better than average throughout everything, so I'm pretty happy with that. Our treated, released, or treated no transport were down, but we have no control over that, just happenstance. If you look at our public relations events, we're staying pretty steady with those. We've got a bunch coming up. We've got Christmas parades and whatnot over the past next few weekends. Then our successful first time innovation rate down at the bottom, it says NA for the first time this month because we actually had 0 for the month of October, so there's nothing to report. The number of those is going down significantly. We've kind of switched modalities on our cardiac arrest patients, so we don't intubate a whole lot anymore. We drop rescue airways.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
It says successful, so if it's 75%, they didn't make it or what?
So, successful first time, so there's a potential they missed the first time they got on the second attempt. But I only measure the first time.
You just said whether you got it right, correct, instead of you didn't lose the patient?
No,
Just wondering.
Yeah, sometimes if they have a difficult airway, it is a potential miss the first time.
You did?
That was one of our quality improvement indicators, so a lot of training on that, so I don't like to see anything less than 100%, but with the decreasing number of those, I'm probably gonna pick something to report different next year. That's one of the things I wanna hear from you guys is I can basically pull reports on any metric, so if there's something you guys wanna see in particular, let me know and I can run that metric, but I will be reporting something different for 2023. On the second page, as always, is our destination. You guys can come to that, but overwhelmingly people are choosing to go to Paris, which we like to see. But obviously there's some of those patients, whether it be heart attack, STEMI, trauma patients that may need to go elsewhere, so those will be taken to the appropriate facility that maybe some care that we can't offer yet. The other couple things I had to talk about, we have 2 classes of EMT students. We have our community students for EMT, then we have our high school students for EMT. They've all been released to do clinical, so if you see us out and about, we more than likely have extra people with us. I do have several new employees that are orienting as well, so I've almost always got at least 3 people on truck, if not 4 sometimes. So you'll be seeing a lot of students come through, we like to see that. The community EMT class will be done this December coming up, and the high school will actually run through the school year. So everyone is doing well with that. We're actually really impressed with the high school group, a good group of kids in that. Then the final thing I had to talk about was the new ambulance. We've taken it up in graphics this morning. We'll get it stocked over today and tomorrow. Then we have IDPH and Carl coming down for our state inspection on Wednesday. After we get our inspection paperwork, I've got to make a trip to Springfield next week. After I get it all blessed by the Secretary of State, then my go live date for that will be December 1st, so you'll see a new truck on there come December 1. You guys have any questions, comments, concerns for me?
How many, maybe I missed it, how many high school kids?
So right now we have 5 in that class. So not a huge class, but it's a very manageable size. We don't want to see more than 10. We are doing a first responder class right now. We're evaluating whether that's going to be a beneficial class or not. We've had mixed reviews on some of that, but we're hoping by offering that first responder class, we get some kids interested in EMS and proceed to their EMT class. They only have to be 16 to be licensed as a first responder in the state, but they have to be 18 to be licensed as an EMT.
On the helicopters, do most of them come out of Terre Haute?
No, so we are geographically placed very fortunately where we have access to several different helicopters. So we have Mattoon, Brazil, Effingham, Terre Haute, and Champaign. The one we get most frequently is either Mattoon or Brazil. But it's just kind of luck of the draw on who's available at the time. But
Okay.
usually Erie-Vac is first call because there's so many members in Edgar County. Now, there is some legislation.
And now that it's from Mattoon,
Mattoon is the closest, Erie-Vac 145,
okay.
and Erie-Vac.
Well, I know when they come out of Terre Haute, normally they right over the top of my house, and I haven't, well, in the last month, maybe twice, but it just hadn't been
Between,
very many.
yeah, between EMS and the hospital, we average about one helicopter a week, so. But with new legislation coming down the pipeline, I expect to see some changes on the helicopter side as far as memberships and that billing goes. Doesn't affect my operations,
Right.
but as far as their operations, I can see it affecting.
And I know at a couple of meetings ago at the 911 meeting, you were talking about radio.
Correct.
Have you got the people coming at the next 911 meeting?
So, yeah, Brad, actually Brad spoke, him and I are supposed to have a conversation tomorrow, he's gotta do some radio work for me, but we're gonna have a conversation. But looking at sites for an additional repeater, on the south end of the county that we cover, Vermillion, Oliver, and Kansas, southern territories that are having radio issues. I've talked to Clark Edgar about maybe putting something on their water tower, but we're still doing some feasibility studies on whether the infrastructure is there, what we need. Then he's supposed to be getting me prices together to present to 911.
Okay. And I know the other day we were talking a little bit about radios and stuff with this new facility across the street. And, you know, I know we've got different things, different places with 911, the sheriff's department's got different places. I know their 911 and the sheriff's department has antennas on the radio station, the old radio station tower. And I was talking to Jeff the other day that, you know, whether we're gonna have to put up our own tower or whether maybe we can utilize the radio station tower, you know. So that's something I wanna talk with Brad about, you know, different options.
The difference in 911 and sheriff, which you're probably aware of, is sheriff band uses a digital band,
Right.
whereas 911 uses an analog band.
Right.
Analog is unfortunately outdated.
Mhm.
It's just getting everyone up. The two options are everybody switches to digital, everybody switches to 800 megahertz, which
Mhm.
is a change for everybody. But there's a lot more involved than that we can talk about at
Right.
some point. But
And I know we, at the last 911 meeting, we talked about digital and analog and, you know, there was mixed emotions on it. So we need to have a good discussion on
this
that for the
county
future.
in itself has a lot of volunteer fire departments that might not have the funds to.
Right.
But there are grants available, so it's something that we can pursue.
Mm-hmm.
On the grant side, I'm working with several community organizations, between the hospital foundation, did purchase some AEDs,
Mm-hmm.
between them and the hospital itself. We haven't received them yet, there's 150,000 units on back order from Zoll, that we're still waiting on AEDs for, but when those come in hand, the hospital will be donating AEDs to some community organizations. We're taking applications at that point for need, but we'll also assess that need and get those out. So more information to come on that.
Thanks, Adam.
Anybody else? Thank you, Adam.
Well,
All right, next on our agenda then is thank you to Monica Dunn and Ollie Smith for coming to talk about the health department. And with the change in leadership, board had asked for them to join us and just to make sure that we're all on the same page. So why don't you two come on up.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So I don't know if everyone knows Monica Dunn. She's the new administrator for the health department, not new to the organization, of course, but new in this leadership role, and Ollie as board chair. And so, as you know, because we're the ones that had a lot of discussion on this issue about Bellwether coming in and helping to I guess reset is a good way to say it, to make sure that procedures and processes are in place, because even though Ollie has tons of leadership experience and knowledge about how to run a board, it's different when you have a lot of government regulations on top of that. And of course, Bellwether is very knowledgeable about all that and has started giving guidance. And Monica said, in addition to what we know about, she's also been communicating with Bruce and with Dustin. So Monica, would you just give us a little bit of an overview about what's been going on and how Dustin, I think especially, has been talking with you and what he's been giving you?
Yes, Dustin and Bruce both have been extremely helpful. As you know, I came to the position July 1st and was unaware of some of these issues that were going on. I'm certainly glad these things have come to light, and I've been extremely thankful for Bellwether because they have just given me a wealth of information that I didn't have. They have done, I guess, an investigation, a review of the health department, and found what the deficiencies were, and those were mainly with process. So that's their report. Did you give them all a copy of the report,
No.
Lisa? Okay, but you have an electronic copy. Would you mind sending that to
Sure.
them so that they can read through the report? But basically, Bellwether came back with, that we had flawed processes. Our use of funds was allowed within the guidelines for state and federal funds made available for public health emergency, and the amounts were thought to be proportional to overtime experience. Bellwether found that our department's performance in defining and providing community and environmental health services to be among top in our peer group, and the ability of our department to secure revenue from other than property tax sources, they say, is impressive, with over 85% of the total department services funded through grants and fees. So, like I said, Lisa has an electronic copy of the full report, and she also has their synopsis. But basically, they found that our problems lie within the government processes, and they did not find any malfeasance, rather just a lack of understanding, like Lisa said, of how things needed to be done and put on the right track. And I feel like we're on the right track, would you say, Lisa?
Yeah, yeah.
So, Bellwether suggested that we keep them or someone like them on retainer to just kind of help me maybe through the next year to make sure that I understand everything that needs to happen. I don't know any of you very well, but I am committed to doing the right thing. I'm very committed to our county and to serving our county. And so I want to make sure that we are following all of the procedures correctly. I'm not the board, you know, I'm the administrator, but in as much as it depends on me, I want to make sure that things are being done correctly. So, anything else you would want me to touch on?
No, and Gary, thank you, as always, for putting an accurate report out there to the public through Saturday's article. One of the things that we did that Bellwether gave the documentation for, not just the guidance, was doing some resolutions to, after the fact, make some previous actions formal and official and done the right way. One thing I would ask that I don't know whether you've talked about with them is taking a look at your employee handbook.
Yes, I do want to mention that the employee handbook was created with the assistance, Jeff, who was the former, before you had Bellwether, there was another company, I'm told.
What's the one that we had?
Abushu.
Bushu.
Yes, Bushu, that's correct. So that was created with Bushu's assistance and reviewed by them. But it seems like maybe there are some things that need to be looked at again, and I think that Bellwether would be a great resource for that. We have, for the most part, been dealing with the tasks at hand. But there are things, that's why I would really like to keep them on, because they've been so helpful to me. But I would like to do a full review of our employee handbook, and I think that's in order.
So, of course, we just met Friday, which our regular scheduled meetings are the third Wednesday. So are you anticipating maybe that'll be part of our agenda for next month then? About Bellwether and their proposal?
A contract
Yes.
with them.
Yes, I thought that, I mean, I've been advised to put that on
Okay.
the agenda. And I will say, apparently, part of our issues had to do with the agenda and the minutes. I didn't include that when I was talking before, but I've been working with Bellwether to make sure that the agenda and the minutes are an accurate reflection of what's going to happen. I didn't have experience with that before. I kind of, at my first meeting, did what had been done before, but as soon as I was in touch with Bellwether, I made sure that we were doing what needed to be done. And those are, when I started in July, I did begin to post our minutes on the website and our agenda on the website. I've sent it to Augie and to Ross to make sure they're posted on the county's website as well. So, sorry, I forgot that in my
That's
initial.
all right, it's a lot to remember. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that was the biggest part of what I wanted to bring you guys up to date with, we've been talking about and discussing. And Marissa, Beck has now started taking minutes, and her minutes are very detailed. It's almost a transcript, which is much better than too short.
But it doesn't leave a question in
No,
the
it
mind
does
of our
not.
residents, and
It
I think
does
that's
not.
important.
So please convey, I appreciate
I
that.
will.
Does she put pauses in?
No, but by golly, if I
Pause.
say something, it's quoted.
Well, that was actually Bellwether's recommendation too, rather than have the administrator try to be participating in the meeting
Right.
and take the minutes. They felt that it would be better to have an employee come in and take the minutes, so Marissa agreed to do that.
You might talk to them about actually taping the minutes too at the same time.
You know, Dr. Graham mentioned that too, and we are taping them.
We
We
do.
had I see that, and we have the watchdogs taped, but I did have Marissa tape that last meeting, because it's easy to forget exactly how something was said, and we don't want things to be, misrepresented. Bellwether did tell me that if we tape them, that we pretty much have to keep that forever, so we will be putting that on a drive so that we have those available.
And if you go into closed session, one thing you should identify with them also is that you need to take closed sessions.
Yes,
And that way, and those have to be kept. There's a set period of time where you review and either leave them private or open them up to the public. But
yes.
they can tell you better.
Yes, and we've discussed that briefly, but
All right.
trying to get through some of these issues that need to be set straight, and that's why I really think it would be a good idea, very good for me to keep them.
Do any of you have, yes?
We kind of talked about restaurant inspections,
Mhm.
possibility of putting them in the paper, is that a possibility? Like Darrell does?
I don't have a problem with that. I do think, I mean, do you think I would need to get board approval for that?
We should probably go through that process, yes.
I don't know how,
Rather than try to go back and do it again,
I don't know how
so.
important it is, but, you know, some people ask me around town about it, so they see the things on the doors, which is fine. I mean, most of them are green and have nothing wrong with them, but I just wanted to maybe put in the paper, which would make people feel better about the restaurants they go to, so.
Yeah.
Does the state put out a criteria for number of, or suggested minimums or anything on restaurants?
Absolutely, yes. The
And are we
food
doing
code-
that right now?
Yes, absolutely. The food code is very, very specific.
So why are we doing more then?
More what?
Well, am I
That was a conversation we had recently regarding an increase in food inspection, food license cost, annual cost.
Fees.
And fee, and the justification was that they were going to be inspecting more frequently. And it passed the health board, and then we had this conversation, which led to this question.
And
So is there truly a justification for raising the fee if we were already,
at minimum, or at.
and if there is no, if there's an issue with an individual restaurant, then yes, that of course, I'm sure there's a whole mechanism for repeat inspections and more frequent inspections, but is that fair and justifiable to raise the fee for all restaurants?
Well, I am not a specialist in the food code and in the codes that we have to follow. I know that there are different levels and you have to do a certain number of inspections for each level. But I would be happy to investigate that and see if I can get an answer for our next board meeting. And if you think do you think I need to have Marissa come and go over that? Would that be helpful?
With your board.
With
Yes,
us,
yes,
yeah.
yes.
Not our.
No, no, I
That'd
would
be
agree
great,
with
she's
that.
gonna be there already anyway, so yeah, I think, because I had voted like the rest of the board had, because Marissa's presentation sounded very justifiable. And not having knowledge about that myself, and then when we talked about it here, it did lead me to think, maybe we need to talk
Sure,
about that.
yeah, let's
again.
do that. Would you do me a favor and send me an email of
You
some of the
bet.
specific
Sure.
things so we can get a good presentation prepared?
It's like an audit, you know, when you look at something, normally you audit a minimum amount, and then if you find problems habitually, or there's some reason to do it, then you expand your audit to whatever the criteria or
Sure,
parameters are. And if there's not a reason, you know, you'd like to see things stay healthy
Sure, I
and
understand that,
effective.
yeah.
But to just go in and raise prices and start doing more inspections doesn't seem to us to be reasonable.
There are different criteria for restaurants that have buffets. I know a lot of times in Terre Haute, they say temperatures for certain foods on a buffet have to be certain thing, I mean,
yes, they do.
yeah, I just wonder.
Well,
Not that I eat at buffets a lot, but sometimes the food's kinda cold on the
If it's
buffet.
cheap, you do.
Yeah, inexpensive, not cheap.
But you guys have taken shots at one another.
well,
all I've got.
again, I'm not the food code specialist, but,
No,
Somebody
The
had a
dog
dog.
fight was funny.
the animal shelter's next. Okay, it's not now.
How many dogs you got, Andy?
oh, is that Andy? If you would permit me, I will study that a little bit more.
I just wondered.
When I started on July 1st, my main focus was the medical side,
Yeah,
just to
I
make sure
understand
that,
that.
so
Understand
I'm clear on dental.
Okay,
I got that down,
okay, good.
but, I do need to, I can
I
spend some
just
more time in
wondered.
EH.
Some people ask about it, so I just kinda
Yes,
wondered.
and if you would like for me to come back and talk to you in more detail about that, I can do that, but
You don't have to.
I need to make sure I'm clear on things.
We would like to see, though, you mentioned that, all department heads at least touch base with us at least once a month. You've got 3 different meetings.
Okay.
We have 2 study sessions, and Lisa can let you know what the schedule is. We have 2 study sessions and 1 regular meeting. So we're encouraging not just you, but all department heads to do that. And most of them do.
Do you have a employee, Michael, something, his name's
Burger.
Yeah.
Burger? That deals directly with like local bakers and stuff like that? They're licensed?
Yeah, he's one of our sanitation,
B-U-R-G-E-R,
yes, inspectors.
okay.
Yeah, I've heard some things
I'll
about
deal with that later. This is not, it's not somebody he's talked to him about when time comes, I just couldn't remember his last name.
Well, if there's a complaint,
I'm not
and
complaining.
this,
I've heard
this
something.
might not be, where we wanna discuss that, but if
Right.
you have heard a complaint,
Right.
I would really like for you to come and talk
This
to me
is no
about that.
complaint, ma'am.
Okay,
This is
well,
just
Dan
a-
said it was a complaint, so I was just
Yeah.
checking.
You can't believe it.
Okay, thank you for telling me.
Nobody's.
Monica, one other thing that we had talked about that I haven't seen come before us yet is, we had talked about a cottage, no, not the cottage
Mobile
one.
food ordinance.
Mobile food
yes.
ordinance.
I am sorry, I have been buried in some of this
Okay,
other
I didn't know if
stuff
there was
that,
more since we talked about it at the
no,
board,
I
or-
just,
Okay.
it's, I am the problem. Get that on tape, I am the problem.
It's on tape.
Okay.
Dealing with the solutions.
Yes, so, yes,
Okay,
dealing with
so
the
that's the
solutions,
next
I,
one. So we
yes,
have
we do.
Restaurants, cottage, and mobile are the three ordinances on the food side.
I believe so.
Okay.
Now, this weekend,
And if you're not ready to bring it to us, that's fine, but it. you know,
We
it's not-
are, it's not that, it's
Okay.
just, I
Should be
have
Russian.
been
Well,
buried.
then let's talk about that and make sure it gets on the agenda for the December board
Please.
meeting, if you're ready for that.
For this board.
Yes.
Okay, yes, we're ready.
now this weekend, they got the Christmas in Paris and got all these vending machines around the square. Are those all,
Some of those already have permits.
okay?
I
just
think
wondered how it
what,
worked.
from what
That'd
I've
be a
been
job to
told,
have to do all those, I mean,
yeah,
in one day or 2 days.
no, a lot of those people are already permitted in our
Okay, just
county.
wondered.
There may be, I think the last thing I heard was that maybe one or two they
Okay,
would have to
I
get
get it, I
taken
just
care of.
wondered, so, yeah. That'd be a job to have to do that.
Other questions or issues that you gentlemen and lady would like to discuss?
The food inspections, do you do them once a year, every 6 months?
There are some, again, it's
Just depends
based
on
on
the-
this tier, there are
Okay,
some
alright.
that need to be inspected 3 times a year, there are some that need to be inspected 2 times a year, and in some cases just once.
Okay.
So, and that's something I'm gonna have to understand better so that I can explain it to you.
That's fine.
That's a lot of inspectors.
I don't wanna sound like I don't know what I'm doing, but like I said, I have taken kind of one department at a time and tried to,
Back in our days, we didn't have those, so we're still here, right? So it must not be too bad. Shouldn't say that.
And Monica, the other thing is, you all, and you've been so involved in this too, talking about trying to recruit a dentist. Would you share your frustrations and where we are with that?
where shall I begin?
Is it
Well-
simply a money issue?
It's partly a money issue. We are able to, considered a shortage area, so we're able to offer loan repayment program through the Rural Health Network, through HRSA. But in the past, the salary that we paid and that loan repayment was very attractive to a dentist who had loans. But now, the salaries that they can get in private practice are bigger than what we can pay with our salary and our loan repayment. So that's part of what we're facing. The other part of what we're facing is being in rural Illinois. And, you know, I have talked to the state about this. We talk a lot about health inequity, you know, health equity, making things equitable for everyone. And that includes people who are in rural areas. And this is a challenge for our area. We are fighting that because it's hard to recruit a dentist to this area. So between that and our salary issues, that's really been the big fight. I have had ads, I've had a national ad out since we lost our full-time dentist. I have ads out across multiple states at the schools, so the dental schools. We have a recruiter that we are using, that we didn't have to pay up front. We only would pay them if we hired through them. And that was through the board. I didn't make that decision by myself. And then Ollie was gracious enough to offer the assistance of their recruiter. So I have met with her as well. We have promoted this through the dental companies. last month, I did have a dentist contact me, and she heard about our opportunity through one of the dental companies, through Patterson. And, unfortunately, that lady thought we were close to Danville, Indiana, not Danville, Illinois, so.
Quite a difference.
Yes, there is going, she felt like that would be a long commute. I have participated in some, health fair, or some job fairs. They're just now getting to the point that they're doing those in person again. I mean, participating virtually is ridiculous. We didn't have any interest expressed there, so. I have posted our job with all of the state agencies, you know, the Division of Oral Health, HRSA, the Rural Health Association, so working with all of those folks. So it
Do you
is
have
very
the
frustrating.
same problem recruiting because of
Carla,
rural,
well,
small?
we normally don't recruit dentists because we don't have.
Right, I mean, but for doctors
yeah,
through the
But
hospital.
I'll tell you probably as much as anything, and I don't know whether you know a lot, but there's so many corporate dental companies out there now that hire graduates, and they hire at a high level as far as compensation goes, so they attract them right away because they're wanting money, obviously, and then they work them to death. If you ever talk to any of them that really work for these companies, it's kind of ridiculous how much they work. And lots of them hang in there for a while, lots of them don't, but then they move on to other things. But the loan program isn't near as important to them as, because they've been used to a much larger salary, and so they're expecting it from wherever they go. And so it makes it hard, especially in the dental program. I know Jason, he knows the problem, he just doesn't know really how to fix it from his standpoint. But we'll see. I don't know whether, it may be that if we can get somebody that's truly interested, then we can really talk about a different salary or something. And come up with a plan that's got a few years to it, then you can design a program that may help them grow and help us grow. And then, but you gotta do a different way of recruiting anymore, just because the landscape's changed so much.
I was at an administrators meeting, and it was for administrators throughout the state in August. And many places that had a dental clinic are dealing with the same things. There were a couple of places that hired a locum tenens dentist, but those fees to pay those guys, I don't know how they're doing it. I did the math and did the budget, and I thought, I don't know how that works. So the fees for dental are they're just not what they are in private practice. So we're not getting the revenue that people would get, that private offices are getting. They did raise the fees a few years ago, but we're still not up to usual and customary, and so of course we fight that issue. We are out in the schools with our preventive program. That's going very well. We've served 700 children since the last week of September. So the kids are getting their cleanings and their fluoride treatments and their oral health education. And we are referring them to other locations for care, but that's top on my priority list. I've been in public health, community health, dentistry for my entire career, except for changing it up when I became the assistant administrator, and I've never seen anything like this. You know, I've been involved in recruiting many dentists, and I have absolutely never seen it like this before. So.
And so your stopgap is that your retired dentist and Dr. Graham review cleanings and sign off on those so you can get paid, correct?
Yes, so we go to the school, and the hygienists, all of our hygienists are what's called public health dental hygienists. And with that certification, they can see the students or anybody that comes to a public health department, we can see them before the dentist. And at the schools, they this is new this year, which has really helped us, take an intraoral camera and take pictures of what's going on in the child's mouth. And then Dr. Llewellyn and Dr. Graham is now credentialed, finally. So they review those. And the public health dental hygienist has to work under a dentist, but then that dentist will review the findings and what transpired during the appointment and make recommendations about future treatment.
How many people do you have in the dentist area of your department? Like hygienists or whatever?
Yes, well, I'm a hygienist, but I am able to help them. If they're
Okay.
short-staffed, I'm able to go out and
Right.
help them. I don't have a lot of time to do that, but that's a critical program and we need to keep that going and get a dentist in there. We have, our dental director is a dental hygienist and she makes sure that the school programs happen and so she's actively treating patients. Then we have 2 full-time hygienists.
Oh.
And then we do have a PRN hygienist that will come. We have portable equipment that we can set up 5 dental operatories in a school. We have screens to make them private. We have annual inspections by the state. And at our last inspection, we were told we were one of the top five programs in the state. So she said, you are doing this just like you would do it in an office, and this is good practice. So we have a really great program, and all we need is a full-time dentist.
Okay. I didn't realize.
No small thing.
Yeah, I didn't realize we're still, I thought, well, you don't have a dentist, so you're not doing anything.
No,
So,
no,
I
we
didn't realize
are,
that.
we are, and the schools are really thankful to have us, and we've gotten help for a lot of kids, so.
Well, I noticed in the paper the other day, like they're putting on a nurse practitioner for the schools, and they were saying that, like, kids, for example, the one that had a cut in his head and had staples and didn't go back to get him taken care of, so.
Oh, yeah. We have a case management program, so we're working with, of course, we can't go get the child and
Right.
drive them to a
No.
dentist, but we
Right.
are working with those families.
That's good.
Yeah, good.
Do you have any other questions for me?
No, I don't thank you very much. I appreciate both of you.
Right.
Jeff?
Yes. Bid procedures, have you talked to,
Yes,
Bellwether?
I'm not gonna tell you that I have that whole thing down
No,
pat.
I just
But
know.
yes,
Is that
absolutely.
on the list?
It's, actually, we signed an ordinance, there's been, or a resolution, it's an ordinance or
Oh, that's
resolution. And you will have, I'll make sure you have a copy, they did send me the ones with signature lines, so
Okay.
you'll get a copy of those, I'm
Because
gonna
that's
go
been
back
a
and
point
sign
of,
those.
I know you bought a van and a building, and
Yeah,
whether or
and, you
not
know,
you got federal funds or not, you're still required to adhere to.
Yeah, and I became the administrator on July 1st. Those grants predated me, but like I said, I want to make sure, I'm not interested in hiding anything. That doesn't serve anybody.
And the question wasn't meant to imply.
Yes, but I just want
think
you to know. You guys don't know
If you have it
me.
right here, then,
Yeah,
I'm glad to
no,
hear it.
that was one of the ordinances, and, I'm gonna have to learn everything about that and make sure I'm doing it correctly, but yes,
It's
that will,
pretty straightforward.
yeah.
ADP,
ADP, well, I talked to Lisa a little bit about that the other day. ADP has been up and running since the first part of September. We waited 9 or 10 months on an electrician to run our wires. And it's up and running. Our accruals are in there, so it's tracking vacation and sick and personal and all that. And that's great, that saves a lot of time. It is tracking our time and attendance. But we only have the time and attendance program because we don't do the payroll. We send that in to Pam. So, I am not thrilled with the system. I went to the meeting about Paycom and I really, really like that system. It's much more comparable to what I used when I worked with Sarah Bush. It's a really nice program. It's gonna be much less work on our managers. Right now, I feel like I'm not a fan of the system. And I think the problems have everything to do with the fact that we just have the time and attendance and not the full payroll program. That was a grant-funded thing, and that grant ends on June 30th.
Okay, here's the issue,
Okay,
and it's gonna get more complicated.
oh, okay,
Paycom is gonna need a spreadsheet, each payroll,
okay. And I,
developed by you guys. And it's not seamless. And I
Great.
wish we'd known what you were doing and
yeah,
so forth.
and I didn't realize that you didn't. I mean, that grant was, I think we applied for that about 1.5 years ago, because it was a 2-year grant. But
What's the buyout? And I don't expect an answer. It may be cheaper for us to buy out the program
Yeah.
than to continue it.
well, and I may be able to write a line item change. Let me talk to the grant
Okay,
people.
I'm giving you
Yeah.
kind of a heads up that we found out some things on Friday that are gonna make it, you know, just, we have a meeting with Paycom at noon today. Cause I'm gonna talk to the board, and so's Augie gonna talk to the board here in a little bit about some of the issues we've run into. Not insurmountable, more of a time issue and an effective use of time issue, so.
Mhm.
But if,
Yeah, I can do some work on that. I
That's
better
fine.
write that down.
that's fine. That's fine. I just, while we're talking, we need to know about that stuff.
Yeah, and I will say that we went with ADP based on recommendations from other health departments,
Oh,
but,
that's fine.
you know, I had experience with Sarah Bush, and I really liked our timekeeping system there, and thought but I think we didn't have all those options because we're just doing the time and attendance.
That's all I had, I'm sorry, Taylor.
Does
I'll,
any-
sorry.
I was gonna say, does anyone else have any questions for Monica? And remember, this isn't the only time we'll ever see her, so.
Yes.
You got the, heating and cooling taken care of, you're having some
Oh,
problems.
that's fun.
I just asked.
Yeah,
You
they
just have some
came,
problems.
it's been a back and forth for
Okay.
sure.
That's fine.
They came out again on Friday, so,
Okay.
there are just some areas of the building that are not getting what they need, and
That's no problem, just,
Yeah. we're working with them, so
Okay.
they had to meet with Ross, they haven't been able to remote in, I don't know what's going on with that, but, we are continuing to work with them, and I think they're about ready to make a recommendation, because I think they've done everything they can do without really making some
okay.
huge changes.
Philosophical issues that the board wishes to discuss this morning, I mean, we talked about, but I mean, as far as service and anything we wanna say at this point?
I think, and this goes along with what we talk about on the health board, just making sure that the public health department is public focused and realizes that just like we are and everyone else, we serve at the public's request. So, we just have to make sure that all staff realize that you serve the public and the public's needs must be met
Yes,
in
and
an
that,
appropriate and timely way.
yeah, and that is absolutely my goal, so again, if there are complaints, I really need to know, if there's a problem, anytime there's a complaint brought to my attention, I investigate it fully, and I will do that. If you have a concern or a complaint, you're welcome to come talk to me at the health department, whatever we need to do, but, that's absolutely my goal, is to be the very best health department we can be, and I think when you look at this report, you'll see that that's what Bellwether felt they saw within us, but if you've got a complaint, let me know.
At some point, I'll contact you, because I've talked to a few people, and
Okay.
I'm sure some of them you're aware of, so I'll talk with you sometime.
Okay, I would appreciate that, you know, again, I came here July 1st, there may be some things that, all of these grant things predated me, I mean, I assisted in writing them, if you felt like there were things that you didn't know about, I was not at those board meetings, I was not involved in those things, and I don't know, I haven't had people bring complaints to me since I've been there, so, I encourage that. I'm committed to my job and to this county, so.
Well, I
please let me
appreciate,
know.
me personally, I appreciate you coming, because, you know, I've learned a lot of things just here today that I had no idea.
Well, and
you know,
my
if-
door is open.
Right.
I've said this to our Board of Health, but if you have questions about the health department, or you would like to understand something better, I would happily sit down with anybody and go through any questions that you have. I think that's important. I think that if you've got a question and you don't understand what's going on, then you may develop a wrong
Right.
opinion, or you may hear things and think, well, this is happening, and maybe that's not what's happening, and if it is, it might be something that we need to address, so, yes.
Study sessions, and we can, if you can make some, but not all.
I will make it a priority.
Well,
I apologize
No,
for
no,
not
no.
doing.
But I'm saying, we'll get you on early, we don't expect you to sit around for an hour and a half while we talk about other things. Just like Adam, we got Adam on boom, and sometimes he stays, and sometimes he's got a boogie,
Sure,
so.
sure. Well, I
But
appreciate
we would
that.
appreciate the
Yes.
interchange of ideas, so.
Well, and as Lisa and Ollie can attest, I love to talk about the health department.
Well, that's good.
Sometimes you might have to shut me up.
We get too many other stories around here, it's nice to talk about what's going on.
Yeah.
Oh, you're talking about.
Thank you.
You are
Anyway,
welcome.
so-
Holly, did you have anything you would like to say?
Not really, Jeff, other than, just kinda coming with Monica to listen to her, maybe console afterwards, say you forgot something or something, but not really, she did a great job. I think, you realize after listening to her, we've got a good administrator. I feel that deeply. I've been in public health for a long time, and she is the most qualified candidate we've ever had, and I'm talking a lot of years. And so I think she's gonna do a great job going forward. I think she means everything she says as far as being interested with what everybody wants to know. She's gonna do great communication. I think that's probably the biggest thing that she can do to make things much better for you guys as a board. So, just, if anybody's had any questions for me, but otherwise, I just wanted to be here to kind of support her a little bit.
Thank you, Holly.
Thanks,
We
Holly.
appreciate it.
Okay.
Do you need me
No,
anymore?
you guys can boogie.
No,
Thank
will
you.
do.
All
Thank you.
right, thank you so
Appreciate
much
it.
for having me, I
Thank you.
appreciate it. Could I don't know everyone.
Oh,
I know Dan,
Yeah.
I know Dan.
Russ Lawton.
Who?
Russ Lawton.
Nice to meet you, Russ.
Carl Farnham.
Okay.
Phil Ludington.
Hi, Phil. Well, I know who you are and I know who you are.
yeah, unfortunately.
But
right.
I just,
That's Gary back there.
I've come in contact with Gary a couple times.
And you know Augie.
Yes, I do know Augie, I know.
And you know Kylie.
I don't think we know each other. Where are you from, Kelly? Okay. I don't have to know you.
Thank you.
Well, I do
bet.
appreciate you
See ya.
reaching out to me, and I apologize that I have not made it a priority. That has not helped anything, but I will make it a priority to try to be here monthly.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day, guys.
I think what we want to talk about is Paycom. I would ask Augie, if you would, to kind of open up the discussion a little bit and maybe share some concerns. I was able to, a lot of what happened and what he's going to talk about kind of unloaded on us on Friday. I think there was some misunderstandings. We're going to try to clarify it at noon today, because we're going to get with the folks in charge, but go ahead.
Well, that pretty much sums up what I was gonna say.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's like the project is a little more complicated than what I think the salesperson led us to believe. So, and there are a lot of issues that have come up It has required a significant amount of time on several of us. And, yeah, and we were hoping to get, we hope to be further along in the process than where we are right now. And so there are several issues, I'm not gonna go into those right at the moment, but there, Jeff, you used the right word, nothing's insurmountable. We'll get through it, but it's time that we all sit down, had a meeting and aired it out and
It's
figure
timing
out.
and accuracy.
Yeah.
Right now, and getting to where we need to be. Obviously, you know, when you start talking about somebody's payroll check, that's an issue, and then the accuracy that the board has from the get-go. I mean, we don't believe that there's a problem with long-term accuracy, but we want to make sure that we're going to be running two systems along each side of each other. One is our old one to make sure that they get paid correctly, and one is the new one, and then we'll compare the two for accuracy, if that makes sense. So we're, like I said, I met with Pam and Jennifer this morning, and we went over a lot of things and some of their concerns, and we were lucky enough to get an appointment at noon with them. So we'll be, I don't know whether you'll be able to be there, but she'll be able to be called in, that's fine, it'll be on the regular system. So we're gonna try to hammer out some of these issues. They pretty much talked us into starting to run a payroll on December 2nd, for example. And it's a little quick. They encouraged, we had in the contract, we'd start based on what they told us. Now they're saying that if you don't do it, see ya. If you don't do it, then there could be some fees that you'll have to pay because you didn't do it on time. So those are not insurmountable, but we need, that's the kind of stuff when you're struggling to get things done. And like you call them, our folks up over there one day and you want a certain set of facts. And then 2 days later, you call up and ask for the same things from our folks. And then 3 days later, they call Lisa up and want the same thing. We should be able to enter it, and that goes into a pool of knowledge that instead of bugging us 3 different times for the same thing, I mean, oversimplifying it, but they're just not, there's some efficiencies that they should be providing. And they can do some entry, and they're a little reticent about doing some entries, and I'm gonna talk to them about that. We don't have an HR department yet.
Right.
So, I mean, and this isn't the city of Peoria or Springfield where we've got, or the county of those two areas, that we've got 20 people in an office. We've got one person, we've got 3 to 4 people in an office, and they all got duties, and they expect us to do all kinds of stuff. So one of the things that may grow out in this though, guys, is, you know, knowing now, or we wish we'd know then what we know now, we'd probably look at an HR position a little quicker. Well,
I figured it'd end up being a full-time person.
Yeah, don't have to be.
it don't,
Next question.
yes, absolutely, anytime.
Yeah, on the, you have something on the email about a temporary username and temporary,
I'm gonna get to that in about
Okay,
2
okay.
seconds. In fact, I'll shift to that right now.
okay,
What you need to do, and if you have a question, just call Pam, is you log in to paycom.com, okay? And then you take those usernames, or those 2 things that they gave you. They gave you a code and a pass, right?
all right,
You gotta go into that, and then it'll open it up and tell you what to do,
okay,
okay? It's gonna ask you to put your, I guess, name and address, your deductions, and that kind of stuff.
deductions,
Yeah, like tax deductions. You probably put 0 in, or whatever you do. In other words, you had to fill that out when you
Okay.
became a board member, okay? The other thing that a couple of you aren't gonna appreciate, but I'm gonna tell you anyway, is you've gotta have an email address. So, and you gotta be able to use your email.
So we have to be involved in this?
Mhm.
Uh,
yeah, Yeah, that was my point. I didn't understand what it said on the email.
I haven't seen that.
Yeah. It was an email.
It's all, it's all automatic, it's all going to automation. So, well, at any rate, I'm just,
This has got to do with payday mostly.
paydays, yeah,
Yes.
Yep.
So if we don't do this,
you won't get paid.
I'll be going there.
Yeah, I know.
I don't have any problem doing it, but
No,
I don't get it.
and if you have, all you need to do is call Pam or Jennifer or whatever, and, you know, if you're having an issue.
So, when do we,
Like yesterday.
yeah.
Okay,
Uh,
I gotta get this down now before you go any further.
I haven't done it yet, so I can't tell you.
Okay, run that by me one more time, big boy. Pay what?
Yeah.
Pay.com, paycom dot?
Yeah, the email. Yeah, the email.
You should
PayPal.
receive the email.
It's PayPal, isn't it?
PayPal.
PayPal.com.
No, it's paycom.com.
All right, okay.
PayPal.com.
I said it right the first time.
Yeah.
.com.
And then you enter those two codes that are in your email.
Email. Temporary password, temporary user.
Okay, I haven't got that email
It's
yet.
numbers.
Huh?
I haven't got that email, right?
Mhm.
I have?
Yeah, you should have got about 2 weeks ago.
And everybody's was on one email.
I ain't got a clue about that. I'm not on my computer almost never, only when I'm paying something, which is more often than I care.
I'll get you.
Yeah.
So that's the bad and the good,
Yeah.
Well,
okay?
I'm not real happy with that.
Well, I don't hear any good, and I don't know, we're doing this, it's supposed to be more efficient, and now we're hiring a full-time person to run this.
Well, not just that, I mean, it's gonna take, remember we talked
I
about
was gonna have to
this.
do this. I have to-
The Augie's office is doing part of HR and
Right.
struggling to get their work done. Treasurer's office is doing the same thing. Once this gets set up, it's gonna be fine. But the reason that we're suggesting it, at least looking at it, is it will make it possible for us to teach somebody sooner than later. Help me on this. And number two, it will allow Jennifer and Pam and Vicky to get back to their other duties while we're getting this ready.
Right, so yes, at some point, if we hire an HR person, it is another person on the payroll. But it's a consolidation of duties that are being done now and either not being done completely or taking away from work that those departments should be doing.
Hiring,
And
firing,
they've always, forever, they've
Yeah.
done all that, correct? There's nothing, I mean, and they still got their work done, but they did, payroll's just part of their duties.
Well, okay, Carl, you may be right. What are we gonna do at this point? We gotta sign contract.
Well-
Working through.
Sounds to me like based on the salesperson wasn't forthright or something to us to begin with.
That's what you said, when it all get a little bit more complex than they insinuated to start with.
And
At
Derek,
least to start it.
Yeah.
I don't think the product is gonna be, because, for example, who has it here? Oh, Prospect Bank uses it, and I mean, it's seamless. I mean, it's a couple of minutes, you got payroll done. So,
And Derek, you have probably the most complex department. And I know you've been working closely with Vicky.
Yes.
Vicky is one of the three that's so involved in this, thank goodness. So that we make sure that we meet your needs. So when this is done, how will this affect Vicky or improve her workflow?
Well, I'm not sure. Once she gets the hang of it and gets, accustomed to it, I think it will speed things up, hopefully. Our concern with it, and has been my concern and Vicky's concern all along, is with us, we've gotta have flexibility in the system because we don't always start, not everybody starts at 9 and ends at 5. And we've gotta be able to, adjust hours, and, we've gotta have that kind of flexibility within the system. And that's been Vicky's concern and my concern as well. As long as we can get to that, then we'll be fine. I just hope we can. I mean, I assume we will be able to.
Right, and I know
But-
that's what she's been talking about with them in these meetings.
Yes, she has been, I know.
Yeah.
Well, so far, I mean, this system you say is more efficient, more simple, is that what you're saying? Well,
should be.
Okay, and I'm just,
I mean, nobody knows for
I don't know
sure.
anything about it, but my point is very simple to me. I mean, this is a personal thing, okay, I'll go along with what anybody wants to do. But the hardest thing I've gotta do to get paid is write down how many meetings I've been to. That's pretty simple. I don't have to try to screw up my lack of knowledge on the computer to do it.
Well, you are not gonna have to enter that on a weekly or monthly basis after it's all set up. That'll still be turned in by Augie to the payroll people, and that'll be entered in. You're not gonna have to do that, okay?
Mileage and meetings, that still is the same, accounts
So then that
payable.
doesn't affect
only
it.
your-
All you gotta get
only
into
your
this
salary.
thing and set it up, okay?
Well, Vicky takes anywhere from 4 to 6 hours now to do payroll on Friday, give or take.
And this
Yeah.
should make it.
Hopefully this will cut that.
The other thing you should know is that we're looking at having the pay, or the, scheduling, 3 scheduling put in, okay? And so that'll be there, she won't have to do that,
She won't have to do that.
okay? But that way she'll have it and she can modify it.
Okay.
I think they said it would not affect this month's paychecks and so forth.
It's not gonna affect anything for a couple months, 'cause
Okay. At least they said this month, I don't know about the rest.
Do we have all the software for the program yet? I know that, I think that was somebody questioned that. I don't know, I heard that.
No, they're still building modules.
Okay,
They're trying to build modules.
okay.
You are the most complicated department there is with
Yeah.
I'm gonna
your
take
time and differential pay and
Mm-hmm,
all that.
Yes,
This is
And
between me and you.
yeah, I know, it's a nightmare. I got you.
I'm not over it.
well, we're not gonna
We're
run
working
out
on it.
and hire an HR person this minute, or we're gonna wait to see how this happens. I'm just saying and maybe I spoke myself, but if we'd known now, or that back then, we might have pushed for it. Well, it's too late, that horse is out in the field, okay? So we're gonna have to just make do the best we can. But our staff needs Lisa's and my support. And if we have to do a little chewing today, that's what we're gonna do, okay? That's what you need to know. And if
Who's you
you,
gonna chew on?
Paycom.
yeah,
Oh, I thought you told
Yeah,
me
not
about
our
me, it's
staff.
nothing personal, I'm just
No.
asking a question.
I
I
don't
thought we were
like
married for a
Crystal.
minute.
Is this contract alone, like so many years and
It's,
it's up?
what is it, a 2-year?
I
don't know,
don't
1 year,
remember.
2 years, something like that.
So if you don't, if you're unhappy with it, or then
Yeah,
you
we
can make a change at that
eventually.
time?
Yeah.
If you are, I mean, maybe you end up loving it, I don't know.
Anyway.
But I will tell you, I did dial in on one of the conference calls a couple weeks, 10 days ago probably. And it was with, the Paycom person and Pam and Vicki and Jennifer. And I didn't hear these issues, so I can't address anything if I don't know it. So that's.
And that is true.
But
I
I'm sure
didn't
it is.
even know until,
Sure,
So
it's
that'll
absolutely.
it'll be good to have all of us figuratively in the same.
Does anyone
room
else
today.
have this in the county around this system?
yeah,
And,
Okay.
and not just counties, this
Do they
is commercial
like
as
it or?
well.
Okay, that's
Yes,
fine.
and I did contact several counties before,
Okay,
before I brought this before the board.
okay.
and it's
So-
maybe just a matter, staff's frustrated.
Right, right.
And I don't wanna make that sound like it's not a big deal, but, you know, when staff gets frustrated and they're trying their best, you've got people, Pam wouldn't do anything if she couldn't do it right. So we need to support them and get it worked out.
Anytime you make a change, it takes a while.
I understand, I
Oh,
just,
this is a big change.
Patience, gotta have
It is.
patience.
It is. It's a big
Vicky's the same way. I mean, we
Yeah.
need to show that we support them, and that's what we're doing. And I didn't mean to make a huge deal out of it with you, but when our staff's concerned, we need to be concerned. So, that's what I'm trying, and we're not just gonna go, oh, well, it'll work out, okay?
So, you said that Vicky spends 4 to 6 hours every Friday, or every other Friday, doing the payroll, doing the input, so how is this gonna make it? I mean, I guess I don't see how, she's gotta input all that in there.
Well, I think in this new system, it's gonna already be there.
Yeah.
She
All
won't
she
have to
gotta do is
input a
check
lot.
it.
You know, yeah.
Staff-
She won't have to input
Right,
as much.
staff gets responsibility for it and she checks it.
Yes.
So,
You
the
log in.
staff are gonna be inputting their hours and
Yes.
stuff like that,
Yeah.
and she
Yeah.
just verifies.
She verifies it, and, you know, like now, she types up the spreadsheet and figures the shift differential and everything like that, and sends it to Pam, and then they coordinate.
Yeah.
Now, the shift differential hopefully will already be there, already be computed in, she won't
Okay.
have to do that,
Yeah.
so.
And Pam spends about, not quite 2 days doing payroll every 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So, anyway, is it
All right.
perfect? Well, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Should it help us? It should. We'll see.
Well, and we have, you know, now, you know, she usually puts out a reminder, or at least tells me to tell everybody, hey, you know, I need their, you know, I need their timesheets, this and that. Everybody's gonna know, they want paid, they're gonna have to get it in. And, you know, we won't be having to chase them down on Friday at 11 a.m., hey,
Right.
I need your timesheet,
All
you
right.
know,
I know how that
so,
goes.
yeah.
Yeah. Got it.
Okay? Well, we will keep you posted on this. We'll have some information for you on Wednesday, fresh information. And we'll do our best to help staff get in a position mentally, especially to be able to continue doing this and know they have our support, okay?
So in the meantime, we should go ahead and put our information in
Please.
So what you are doing is you are setting up on the HR side. You're not having to do anything on the payroll
the.
side.
I understand.
Well, whatever I was supposedly sent to do this, I have no clue.
That should be
I'll
on
find
the
it,
email.
I'll find it.
We'll get it.
Will
I'll
not
email
be
it
on my
to
email.
everybody again. And I'll let you know it's coming.
I got a word there that says delete, I keep nothing.
I do too, but some of them I look at,
I read them, if it's not important, it's an emergency, I get rid of it.
you can
I
unsubscribe.
get
too, I've done
hundreds
that.
of those
I've
things
done that.
every day,
Unsubscribe and get all that crap out of
you know, theoretically.
All right, I
If I
think
come up with the
we,
right info, I can do it, but,
okay,
sorry,
I'll text you when I do it.
All right,
Oh,
meeting
maybe you
wise,
and I'll talk.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Agenda? Let's see, Jonathan's gonna be with us on Wednesday to do a little annual report for us. We're gonna be adopting the budget and levy ordinance. We've got several liquor licenses to do. Let's see. We've got, hopefully the documents will be ready for the purchase of the new property. Resolution to approve Klingner's architectural report for the USDA application. Let's see. Approve the appointment of the following terms expiring for the health department. Lisa will be through 11/30/24. Dr. Graham will be 12/31. 25. Allison is not going to go be reappointed. She sent me a message this morning and said her workload is too great. And Rodney Wolf will be 12/31/25.
So I thought they expired,
I did too.
okay.
They're 12/31 rather than 11/31. Or what?
Everything that I have a record of has been 12/31.
Okay.
If it needs to be changed, you need to let me know.
Who you're replacing, Allison?
Well, the only thing is, I let the one board member know that's leaving that it was 11:30. So, we just change it on the resolutions, okay? All right? And then have a resolution to transfer 30 grand from the farm fund to the general fund, which we do every year. So those are the main things on the agenda. Are there any questions about that?
Number 14, what's the documents, if you want, what type of documents are they?
The sale purchase, and then the deeds.
Okay.
Anything else? Andy?
No, nothing like, I mean, I've got a couple things with the courthouse doors that kind of came to attention, but I can discuss that on Wednesday
That'd be fine.
if you want. Yeah,
Carl,
other than that, nothing.
sorry.
That's good.
Do you have anything?
Just, Andrew's gonna have some kind of a thing this weekend for adopting animals, so it's in the paper, I think, so.
And she has been super active on Facebook through the Paris
has.
area bulletin board.
I think the new, car is really helping out too, with a lot of good ideas, so working out
good.
very well.
Good. Russ?
No.
Carl?
Do you have anything on when we had our meeting the other day on the elevator?
Mike Bear did send email. Did you get that, Jeff?
Nope.
Okay, he sent an email that said, and I'll read it more. I can't read it while I'm talking on the phone, or I guess I could. But it says something to the effect that if they verify that that's a domed bottom in that elevator, that it doesn't have to be replaced. They can just.
I did get that, I'm sorry. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'll clarify a little more exactly what he said on Wednesday, but, and I think according to those prints, that's what they have installed. So, it'll be the cheaper of the options that he gave us that day.
And how much, do we have a rough guesstimate of what a cheap option is?
I wanted to say less than 10,000, but don't quote me on that. I need to look back through. I mean, I've gotten 3 or 4 emails, so I need to look back through and verify that, but that was my understanding.
Well, is that including rebuilding the,
No,
okay. But that would just be the mechanism,
yes,
all right. But then we have to still rebuild and retrofit so that nobody can get at the controls and the system. We still have to do that.
as far as, yeah, we do. See, I don't know how much is grandfathered in and how much is done, but I think he indicated that needs to be done regardless.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, I would think that we'd want that done regardless, so that, from a liability standpoint,
Right,
making sure that nobody messed with the elevator.
right. I will go back through my emails on Wednesday and I'll have more information on that.
All right, Andy. Thank
So,
you.
mhm.
Did that answer your question, Carl?
Yeah, we talked more about it Wednesday.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there something else that's out there floating around?
Wednesday, talking about it Wednesday, I'll clear it up.
Okay. All right. Lud? Oh,
And I know, and I wasn't at that meeting, you guys met at Diamond Brothers. Do we wanna talk about that or wait till Wednesday?
well, we can talk about it on Wednesday. Andy, we sent off a sample, of that stuff in the ceiling. And I talked to, Donnie, and he indicated that he was, asked, and he was told that there was no asbestos there.
Okay, good.
And so we also have some block work to do at some point in time for the back of the building, and some lintels, what do they call those?
Over the doors,
Yeah,
yeah.
littles
Well,
over the doors. doors.
Yeah.
Fill
What happens,
They're swelling
yeah, what they
and
start.
heaving the blocks.
Right. But, all in all, that's.
We don't have an estimate on that yet.
No.
but
Yeah.
there's
Well,
gonna have to be some repairs.
they were estimating it might be about 50 grand. Okay,
Since we're on Diamond Brothers, can I ask a question?
yeah,
Is that money in the budget to buy Diamond Brothers, or is it,
well, thank you for releasing that information.
pardon?
Thank you for releasing that
I
information.
just asked.
Well, we hadn't made an announcement on it yet,
Okay,
but it doesn't matter.
okay.
The question was, now say it again, because you
The
shot.
money that we're using to buy Diamond Brothers.
It is in the budget,
Okay.
the new budget.
I thought you said that one time.
Oh, I could have.
I think you
I'm
did.
just giving, no,
Well,
it
I
is,
forgot about it, I just asked.
it's in the budget,
Okay, good,
okay?
okay. Because Lisa asked last time about it too.
Oh, throw me under the bus.
Everybody's going under the
I'll throw
bus.
everybody
Hell,
under the bus.
Gary already knew about it.
That's a girl's fault. I like that.
Okay, I just asked.
No, it's fine. Yes, that was part of the deal, is that we wouldn't, if, today, is it in the budget? No.
Okay,
On December 1st, it will be in the budget.
okay,
Good
Okay.
purchase.
okay.
Is that cool?
Thank you,
We good?
I'm good,
Okay.
I'm good.
And
Go ahead,
then our
Carl.
last meeting, we had 3 meetings last, whatever day.
Too many.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we met out here with the sheriff's committee, the sheriff was here, Michael from,
Yeah, that was the building committee.
building committee, yeah, it wasn't sheriff's committee. And Michael, the architect, and Core, the construction manager that we've hired. We had discussion about the new plans, revised plans on the jail. And we're getting down to the real short strokes that probably within 30 days or less, we need to give them the final, what we want, so they can start the process.
Yep.
And the sheriff was gonna talk to some of his people and get back with us, and so we can get this finalized, so.
The issue on 911, I talked to Michael and Core, Caleb, and that could, well,
Yeah,
it's still, you know,
Right.
they feel as if it can be handled
Yeah.
without having to
right,
moving everything around,
right.
okay?
Yeah, I understand.
So,
That one
yes,
concern that they had.
right, well, but, I mean, if you ask for their concerns and they give you some,
We
you
gotta have
gotta
an
deal
answer.
with it.
Right,
Yep,
Just a short question.
all right, yes,
Does anybody get Terra paper?
no,
yeah.
Okay. Did you read about the moving in the new jail?
Mm-hmm,
Interesting, what,
mm-hmm,
all the problems they had.
well, it's already full, isn't it?
Almost.
almost, yeah, yeah,
That's not the only problem.
yeah, it's, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's kind of interesting reading with it, I
Mhm.
thought.
Still have to get a hold of the mayor, I got under the weather and I didn't get a chance to let the mayor know that we're going to collectively meet and discuss those issues about 911 and dispatch and start to really, okay, if we do this, what happens with this, and if we don't do that, or we shouldn't do this, and all those ifs, ands. I mentioned to him, and I hope you don't mind, that I said that without thought, you weren't for it, but with thought, it might be able to work out. Is that
That's correct.
all right? So,
Correct.
and so I told the group that that's the way we need to approach the darn thing anyway. I mean, we've got to
Yeah.
not just say, well, we're gonna do it, and then do it, not have any plan. So, but I will let the mayor know that. I also need to let the mayor know that we need to get on this deal with, what is it, the bicentennial?
Mm, yeah.
I mean, you know, it's slipping away. April, hell, April will be here before we know it.
Right,
I hope.
Well, don't be wishing your life away.
Right.
There's a lot of positive
He may be.
things. So, at any rate, I did get a a diagram out to several of the department heads to take a look at the building, the new building, so that they could see what they're doing. And I've had our IT people taking a look at it, and we're, probably gonna need some help with that, so, anyway. Carl, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did. Is there anything else?
I noticed, I think on the county website, there was, not an ad, but
Promotional?
thing about this administrative assistant in the state's attorney's office.
Yes, we did, I did talk to the state's attorney, and we have, put in the budget a new item. We've updated that so it reflects him being able to get a full-time individual up there in that office to assist.
See, he had two secretaries, one was full-time, the other just worked 3 days a week.
Amy,
And Cynthia, she
Cindy,
retired, and she's not working there. So we had a discussion the other day, and there was talk about maybe needing a full-time person, that second person being full-time. And Jeff talked with the state's attorney, and I think he agreed.
he was tickled to death. He
Yeah.
really was. He goes, I didn't know how I was gonna approach you about that.
Yeah. So we're in the process of
makes sense.
putting a thing out, taking applications for him to be able to hire a full-time person in there.
Won't be a paralegal or anything like that, will it? Just a secretary?
Well, you
Paralegal
got,
might help, but.
well, you can read the qualifications,
Okay.
I think they gotta be able to do some of that kind of stuff, just not,
They've gotta be literate in contract law and some of the other stuff and how things
I don't
happen.
think you have to be a paralegal, I don't know what a
I'm
paralegal,
not sure yet, as mentioned.
but,
You saw that on TV,
Yes,
didn't
I
you?
did. Judge Judy, saw Judge Judy.
It was something to walk in there and see
You
Judge
deserve
Judy's in
everything
there.
you get, brother.
so.
All right.
Just some
That sounded good.
Lynn,
No,
Lisa,
Attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting, just gave them an update on some things. Attended HRC board meeting, as always, those meetings are really good, productive. You have kind people wanting to do good things. And so Jonathan will be able to fill us in on that. I am communicating with Svetlana, I may have already told you that one. And I have kind of been dragging my feet because I'm trying to wrap my head around this. The solar farm that's on the north end of, planned for the north end of Kansas has been sold to Nexamp Capital, which is of course an LLC. And so she's wanting some guidance on how to move forward. And so I've gotten Aaron and several others involved. And Audrey, did I include you on that email?
I don't recall
Okay,
it.
and I
but-
didn't know whether you needed to be or not, but just to know who the next entity is, so I'll make sure and include you. I'll copy
So
you
are you
in this.
saying the people that applied, they've sold to
Oh,
some, another company?
yeah. Only they never use the words, we sold our, they don't say it that way. I'm reaching out to inform you that ownership of this project was transferred from Cypress Creek Renewables to Nexamp Capital LLC.
I hate that. Remember when we were dealing with folks 5-10 years ago, and you couldn't keep track of who was owning what?
Yeah. So I forwarded on to Aaron, Jill Taylor, Dina Hassler, and Ross. I thought Ross ought to know as the mayor of Kansas in case he didn't already. So just trying to keep everybody in the loop, and she's asking some specific questions that I don't have answers to. So You know, this is kind of my training, trying to figure out how to do all this. But I need to, I think, probably to get with Erin next. And she does state, Illinois Department of Transportation, I'm tracking that Illinois 49 is a state highway under IDOT jurisdiction. I will reach out to IDOT to discuss the permit process and any additional requirements. So
And
we
you,
had determined that they'll be working with IDOT and us.
and you still haven't heard anything from them since you asked them if it was retail or wholesale, right?
Yeah,
I
I
think
asked,
they
I told them
knew
they
they
had to
were-
prove it. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think you caught them.
I think I did too. Shouldn't have done that, should they? All right, I think that's all I have.
Okay, Lisa and I are gonna be working on a contract. We need to, do another contract with, Dina for her services, and we'll be getting that to you, probably by, what is it, December 12th or 14th, whenever the December meeting is. So her term is up at the end of the month, December that is, so go from there. I really think we've had enough for one day, so I don't really have anything more. There's a couple of changes that have been made in the budget through the hearing process. One of them, Carl, and I just talked to you about, and that is changing some of the figures in the state's attorney's budget. And there was some health department changes based upon new salaries and so forth that reflect a change there. We also asked them, there was a really large, and I shouldn't actually say, but they had a contingency line item where our $5 million budget has a contingency of like 20,000, which is probably very little. But their budget had a contingency of like 125 or 135,000 bucks. We thought that was
Right,
just
they had
a
it
hair
as
high.
Oh, health department, I saw that.
Yeah, they had it
I
as
wondered.
miscellaneous. Yeah.
Contingencies. Okay.
Well, and the one thing I think we should talk to Monica about in the next several months is, rather than waiting till late in the game, it'd be nice to see their budget like in August rather than like October, when, you know, it really doesn't give anybody much time to respond or, you know. So, at any rate, that's just the thoughts that I have. Anyway, that's all I have. Do we need a closed session on anything today? Well, we were gonna,
Okay,
yeah, we were just gonna,
all right. I don't have anything. Does anybody else?
okay. All right, motion to adjourn? Oh, they're raising their hand. Lisa volunteers.
She doesn't have to
And-
sign.
And Lisa moved and Russ
That's
seconded.
cute, Lisa.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.